Thank you, Madam Speaker. And this bill is a bigger issue that I think our committee someday needs to tackle with is really the relationship between the health officers, what their jobs are, and they have a lot of roles, and who oversees them, who they report to. And right now they are recommended by their county. That's who interviews them, that's who hires them. They're recommended to the secretary, and the secretary approves. So they are controlled, even though they're on the state payroll, they are controlled supposedly by the Board of Health and their county elected officers. We keep talking about COVID, and our health officers have been unbelievable on the front lines, like it or not. I mean, they have all of them put in a yeoman's job during the last 2 years, and I don't think any of us think any differently. And there's always going to be controversy over some of their decisions. But I want to just take this past COVID, and we're going to get past COVID someday. This whole thing seems to be all about COVID. But our health officers do way more than that. And I mentioned a couple of those things yesterday on the amendments, but I'm just going to mention one that's important to our county. 7 years ago, Governor Hogan came in and he declared a state of emergency on the opioid crisis. Huge, huge issue in every one of our counties. And our county commissioners at the time, it was a huge issue to them too. So we put together an opioid task force, an opioid senior policy group. And our health officer took it up and he was tasked with leading this group. Now, our health officer is a friend, and he did a good job, and he put together this task force, and our health department became, their number one goal was tackling the opioid crisis along with our county and all the participants. Now, that was a good story. He did the right thing. We've done a really good job with that. However, what if that health officer said, hey, this isn't important to me. I've got another priority. But in that case, our Board of Commissioners and the governor made it a priority, and our health officer really put the efforts of our health department behind it in every way, shape, and form, and I was always proud to be a part of that. So remember, this isn't just about COVID, it's about all of the other things that they control, and you need the priorities of the health officer to be the same as the elected officials, because the elected officials are the ones that represent the people, and that's a problem if this health officer really doesn't have accountability to anyone, and that's a concern of mine, and I think the other things that were brought up are also concerns as well. But just think, let's get past the pandemic and think about these other issues. We've got to have a way that these health officers must work with their elected officials, have somebody to be accountable to, because in the current code, there's no one they're accountable to. It's very, very challenging. So everyone needs accountability. So I thank you for that, and I reluctantly am going to vote against this, and I think we have some work to do on establishing the relationship, a good relationship, with our local health officers. In many cases, we do have those good relationships. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in opposition to this bill and like to speak to the bill. I, once upon a time, like my friend in Carroll County, the country lawyer, and like the county commissioner from Charles County, was a county commissioner. Just prior to me becoming a county commissioner, Garrett County had an occasion to remove a health officer who was a doctor. At the time, I was working as administrator of one of the sanitary commission in Garrett County, but prior to that, I worked for the health department in Garrett County, and I worked with a gentleman that I supervised who became the health officer. He became the health officer, and he had a master's in public health. He was not a doctor. The commissioners, just prior to the time that I became a commissioner, hired him after the health officer was removed. So I was there and witnessed the process, plus I knew my friend very well that became the health officer, and he worked there for a long time as the health officer and recently resigned. He resigned, and when he resigned, the time he resigned, I was a delegate. So during that period of time, the county hired another health officer who is not a doctor. So we have administrators that are working as health officers in Garrett County, and they're doing a fine job. And the county commissioners and the system that we have in Garrett County, there are 3 county commissioners. We're a small rural county. Pretty much everybody knows everybody, especially anybody that is somebody that the public knows and aware of. The system is working really well for us, and so I'm standing here today speaking in opposition to this bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Down from Talbot.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I can understand. I rise in opposition to the bill
and I certainly understand why the Health Officers Association support the bill. But right now, health officers are virtually unaccountable. They're virtually unaccountable. And passing this is going to do nothing but make them less accountable. So they're already unaccountable, and we're going to make them less accountable. How are we fixing, how is this going to serve the problems that we're dealing with day to day? I think it's a step in the wrong direction. It is not going to improve problems, and it certainly isn't going to put this issue to bed. It's going to come back, and we're going to hear about it for years to come. The way to deal with these issues is to rip the Band-Aid off and get right to the heart of what's going on. We can't do that right now, and you pass this, good luck. Good luck. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise opposed to this legislation, and for all the reasons stated previously, but also to refute some of the testimony here that has been provided by Harford County's former health officer. I certainly understand that this bill was offered with good intention, but I have some questions to the former health officer's testimony here. And I also want to defend my the integrity of my county council in Harford County. The former health officer states that that he was terminated, and I'm summarizing, of course, I don't want to bore you with reading the whole thing, basically for political pressure, done in secret, and for no cause, and based upon his policies. And obviously there's HR issues here, so I am obviously not read in on this matter. But what I will say is our former health officer, to date, has not provided a single shred of evidence to support these claims. Not a single shred of actual evidence to support the fact that he was terminated for political pressure, that he was terminated based upon some backroom deal, that he was terminated based upon his decision-making enforcing the health mandates during the height of COVID. Not a single shred of evidence. Nor has he taken any legal action to refute this, to potentially bringing these records to light in a public manner. And this has been a while. So I'm just deeply concerned that this matter is being portrayed as one of the reasons for this bill. I have questions if this is even fully legitimate based upon the claims of the former health officer. So again, I know the committee's is very good intention, is deliberate, and has a lot of integrity working around this issue. I'm just very concerned about one of the matters that helped create this piece of legislation. So for all those reasons, I am opposed to this bill. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Cecil.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And, I wasn't going to weigh in on this issue, but I do, just for my own and for the edification of the body, would the floor leader yield for a couple questions?
Vice Chair of the committee.
Thank you. In terms of the how this person is compensated and who their quote unquote employer is, and correct me if I'm wrong here because I'm trying to understand this. This is a state employee who is paid for with county taxpayer dollars?
Most of them
is that
are
correct?
paid, and good afternoon.
Yep,
Most
how
of
we
them
doing?
are paid by the state. They're state employee, merit employees. Some counties do contribute, but the state pays the largest part of it.
Okay. And then in terms of the hiring, it's sort of a local hiring process, right? That's been, we've heard from commission and from charter forms of government, but it's a local hire, is that correct?
No, this is the way it works. The local bodies, whether they're commissioners or they're county councils, they identify the individual and interview them if they meet the education requirement. They make the recommendation to the secretary, who has to agree and reviews those recommendations because they are state merit employees and the state is contributing to their salary and benefits. So we have a stake because they're our tax dollars. And then the secretary decides whether they'll hire them. And if the secretary says yes, the person is hired. However, the supervisor, the direct supervisor of the local health officer is actually the deputy secretary of health.
Right, okay. And outside of the judiciary branch, which, as we know, is a lot of state involvement in wages and decisions, are there any other positions like this in what I'll call county government, quasi-county government, where the county is participating in paying wages and in the hiring process, or is this unique to all county government as the only position where is this quasi back and forth?
I think that the other one that is similar is the school superintendent, where the local boards get to interview and hire the superintendent and fire them, but they do have an appeals process, which the local health officers do not have.
Right, but in terms of payment, that comes purely from county taxpayer dollars, right?
The payment for the health officer comes from both.
Yep. And then in the case with the superintendent, they have a term. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And they have to be revoted on.
That is correct.
Okay, I really thank you, but I think that's very helpful, and that's where I'm going to go with my next point. But thank you for answering my questions.
My pleasure.
Yep. And why I have concerns with the bill is because what I think this bill is in essence doing is, a car analogy, is welding the hood shut. There's a process on the front end. However, it's incredibly difficult, incredibly nebulous on how we remove that officer if something does go awry, if something goes wrong. And I think, I want to thank the minority leader for pointing out the situation where instead of them doing something they should be doing and people are disagreeing for political reasons or what have you, health reasons, there's also situations where they could make decisions in the wrong way. And it's very difficult and lengthy process to terminate them. And for that reason, along with the payment, and I think that payment for position, there should come some say in how that person's employment is dictated. I'll be voting no on the bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Washington County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to tell you two different stories. We've all heard of Charles Dickens' story, The Tale of Two Cities. Well, this is the tale of two counties. In Washington County, our health officer did a wonderful, wonderful job, and unfortunately was attacked for putting the citizens' health first. And I can see how the genesis of this bill came about. And I can see why the good merits of it. But I need to tell you the other county, the other tale, was in Allegheny County. And when we first had this pandemic brought upon us, our health officer tried to shut down the third largest employer because it was not deemed an essential business. Now, unfortunately, she had made a mistake. She got her list from Pennsylvania, not Maryland. Now, we were able to correct that and work with her, and she does a wonderful job, but she got her information wrong. So I rise against this bill just for the simple reason that I believe that those decisions need to be at the local level. As a former Board of Health officer, I look forward to every 6 months meeting with my health officer to understand exactly what was going to occur statewide, what was going to occur countywide as it pertained to my particular people I represented. And at the end of the day, 99.9% of the time, we went with the best scientific information, the best that was being provided. But I don't know if statewide, the tale of two different counties would have been able to be explained, so therefore the decision should remain at the local level. Thank you, Madam Speaker.